So Donald Trump is absolutely having the worst day ever as his best friends are off partying without him. For reals. Let's sum up today's video, and these are the headlines. Xi, Putin, and Kim show united front at huge Chinese military parade. And essentially, they're having a party without Trump. So this is them. There's your buddy Putin, Mr. Trump. There you got Xi, who Trump keeps trying to call, but Xi doesn't want to return his calls. And then you got Kim Jong-un, who Trump likes to write love letters to. So these are his best buds. And Trump's just like sitting at home going, why wasn't I invited? This is actually a Chinese account that's trolling Trump. It says, Trump is jealous of Xi Jinping. Jealous that it was Xi Jinping, not Trump, who stood in the reviewing stand, but it's actually pretty funny. Basically, what's going on right now is there's a show of force over in China. And that's Xi Jinping in the middle there. He's wearing the traditional communist suit that he'll do from time to time. And flanked by lots of world leaders. I mean, you can see it in the picture. And there is a little bit of number pumping here, so I think there might be some world leaders brought their wives along to walk on the red carpet, along with some translators. And effectively, this is a way for Xi to pump up the numbers to make it look bigger than it is. But a lot of the countries did show, as you can see here. And they walked for a long ways. If you want to watch the whole parade, you totally can. This is also that was on here. Kim Jong-un takes his daughter to China and fuels succession chatter. So, maybe Trump is jealous that he didn't get to meet the whole North Korean, delegation. There's that. It's like, I want to meet the daughter. Why didn't you meet your daughter? But, it's funny with Trump because, and when I tell you guys jealous, you'll see what I'm saying. He tweeted out this weird, bizarre thing, and that's why everyone's trolling him today. This was actually from Russia, the Russia Times. Trump leaves contradictory message. Warmest regards to Putin, Kim Jong-un. As you conspire against the United States of America. That's really what Trump is writing. And then calling on Xi Jinping to acknowledge, quote, U.S. contributions to China's World War II victory and sent. Someone sounds a little jealous. And this was our headlines in the USA, as they pointed out, to where Trump says China conspiring against U.S. with Putin and Kim meeting at military parade. Trump actually did tweet this out, though. And they have this weird picture of Trump. This is the official White House social media, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird picture of Trump. And then it just says, like, President Xi of China. I mean, you can see it right there. And then he's like, oh, warmest regards, and then you're conspiring against us. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I know Trump's a baby, and I know he's basically, the tweeter toddler, or Captain Caplocks, however you want to call this guy. But, even his buffoonery even surprises me sometimes. I mean, how petty can you get? This was actually a Chinese account that was trolling Trump. Another one, I think this is a reporter. He says, I feels like United States President Trump is souring today about China's V-Day commemoration for the 80th anniversary of the victory of World War II. And the basic idea, they're saying, Trump, there's more to the world than just USA. China also exists. He also tweeted out, this is again from a Chinese account. I'm glad to share my points on the Wall Street Journal. Most countries today have China, not the US, as their biggest trade partner. The US is building walls and China is building bridges, right? And it's just interesting to hear points of views on this. I don't necessarily disagree, but that's what it is. And then China, again, this is a Chinese account. They're saying, hey, look at all these countries that can fly visa-free to China. I actually didn't realize it was this many. So my wife is Korean, so I guess she doesn't need the visa to go there. USA is not on the list, so I would need a visa to go to China. So this is the Chinese military parade. It was pretty long, actually. And they played it live in Korea, believe it or not. And then they were commentating on what was going on with that. Yeah, you can see what they got. Looks like helicopter, helos, and I don't know if they showed jets in this one. I can't remember. A lot of soldiers marching. Is very, very different than the American one. So, and I think this is what Trump had in mind when he wanted to do the U.S. one. It's like that's how he seemed it, but the American soldiers weren't that motivated to do it. Where here, it's like, yeah, they're taking it pretty serious. Yeah, and then there's more vehicles, tanks, and such. Just guys to give you a sense of what it looked like. There's drones, looks like, too, on the tank there. Yeah, so it'll look like that. So that was the headline then. China flaunts military might with lavish parade and sends warning to Washington. And then you have this, what large-scale U.S. military action against Venezuela could look like. Like, what the heck? Basically, we're moving naval ships in the area. Now, are they going to put boots on the ground? Let's hope not. You just don't know with Trump. It's so erratic. They just announced they destroyed a Venezuelan vessel, killed 11. I showed you guys in the last video that. Now we have more of it. So basically, there's like this little ship. You can see it right there. I mean, it's just not big at all, right? And it's got like, I think it's got like 4 engines on it or something like that. And then they just blew it up. And it was, I thought this whole thing was strange, to be frank, because Trump was claiming terrorists and these kind of things. And when I read through this stuff, I don't think we know exactly where it was. I pulled up a map just to give you guys some reference. I don't think it was like off the coast of Miami or anything like that. I just don't think it was that close because from what I can tell, and if there's new information as a recording this video that please write in the comments, but I think it's probably like more in the Caribbean, maybe near Cuba or off the coast of Venezuela. I just don't think it's like near Miami or anything like that, but I could be completely wrong on that. Maybe it is. It just doesn't seem like that from what I read. And then even, let's say even if it is near Miami, it still seems strange just to basically blow it out of the water. I was looking at this, and this was kind of describing what you would normally do. And like, again, we don't normally do this, and I wanted to read through it with you. It says, John Feely, a former U.S. ambassador to Panama with experience in anti-drug operations in Latin America, said long-standing U.S. Coast Guard policies for stopping drug trafficking vessels involves cutters carrying a law enforcement detachment from the Coast Guard, right? So cutters being like ships, right? And that's the first thing that I was thinking too as well. Wouldn't this be a job for the Coast Guard, not necessarily the Navy, to hit these kind of things? The units are usually led by the Coast Guard officer with as much as 24 months of legal training who is deputized to make arrests, okay? After identifying a ship hauling drugs, the Coast Guard attempts to get the crew to stop and give up. Again, this sort of sounds like standard operating procedure. So you see this small vessel coming. It's not really like a threat. And you're the Coast Guard. I mean, and you got, all sorts of weapons and you're ready to go. And you're just like, stop. And just talk about, what you'd imagine it would be. You put the spotlight on the boat and you're just like loudspeakers, like this is your last warning, that kind of stuff. And then it says here, if the ship tries to flee, so run away, a sharpshooter manning a 15 caliber rifle aboard a helicopter can get the order to take out the engines, which again would makes sense of like how this normally plays out. That's why this Trump kind of aggressive stance of just blowing these small ships up seems just looking for, well, I mean, they're already fighting, but looking to instigate something. Let's read a bit more. Everything is done to preserve life, Feely said. What we don't do is just shoot up boats like Netflix likes to pretend. Like, so basically, the guy is saying like normal operating procedures, like we don't just shoot every stuff up like a movie, right? It's not like that. And you have to remember, Trump thinks of everything like a TV show. So that's why I think that he mentioned the Netflix stuff. So real life is not like Netflix. That's what he's saying. We can shoot in self-defense, but we rarely do that because most narcos just give up. And that, I mean, I can just see that scenario. You're a small ship. That's why I got to show you guys again. Just think logically. Sure, Trump's going to say that this is, dangerous, terrorists, etc. But, you can see the ship for yourself. It's like, what, 11 people on this thing? And then we're just blowing it up. And what are we using Navy, forces for this? It just seems ridiculous. Let me read some more. It also says, the Coast Guard, so after they give up, I guess, the Coast Guard then searches the boats for drugs. You don't know if there are drugs on board until you board. Which also makes sense, right? So Trump's going to claim, oh, we definitely know for sure. They're definitely terrorists like that. But this is coming from a guy at the Coast Guard. It kind of makes sense. Spokesman for the Pentagon referred questions to the White House. A spokesman for the U.S. Southern Command, which oversees U.S. military operations in Central and South America and the Caribbean, didn't respond to request for comment. Interesting. So no one wants to make any comments on this, and they all just say talk to the either no comment or talk to the White House. So that's kind of tells you all you need to know. And then this is coming from the White House. They say the president is very clear that he's going to use the full power of America, the whole might of the United States, to take on and eradicate these drug cartels. That's from Rubio. We're going to take on the drug cartels wherever they are and wherever they're operating against the interests of the United States. The problem is I mean, you guys know all these problems, is Trump keeps overstepping his bounds. Like for example here, this was just passed today. It says federal appellate panel rejects Trump's deportations under wartime law, right? This was the whole thing where Trump's trying to just deport people whenever he wants, and judges are like, no, you can't do that. I feel like all this stuff is going to go to the Supreme Court. So that's what's going on. I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.